Another powerful tool that you can use in this whole moving average kind of section here is called the Moving Average Convergence Divergence, or MACD. Moving Average Convergence Divergence, and it's really widely used. A lot of people use this. In fact, a lot of times it's a default setting on a trading platform, it'll automatically just kind of show you that, and we'll have a graphic here in a second so you can kind of see what it looks like too. But that's how popular it is. And the reason it's popular is it's trying to overcome that challenge that a good disciplined investor, we want to be good disciplined investors, and we have that challenge where we're waiting for the price to cross over a moving average, for example, or another moving average to cross over another. We're waiting for this crossover rule to happen, and we can see it forming. We can see it's coming. We're hoping it's going to come, but you wish you could take action now, right? You wish, like, could I just get in a little bit earlier? Do I have to wait for the crossing? Well, yeah, you're a disciplined investor. You got to wait. But with the moving average convergence divergence measure, this gives you an opportunity. Maybe you could, get in there a little bit early or out a little bit early, depending on whether it's converging or diverging. So let's take a look at that. But that's the whole idea, is it's overcoming that challenge of waiting for the crossover to happen. So if we look at it, with crossovers, you see a merge, right? You see them coming, and you see a turning point, and they're approaching, and then when that happens, then you're looking for a new direction to occur, is the idea. And by that time that crossover occurs, it's lagging indicator, right? So the absolute peak of whether it's a peak or the absolute trough or bottom has already passed. So you can't buy at the absolute low, or you can't sell at the absolute high. You're waiting for that lagging indicator to catch up and really give you a good solid answer on it. And that's a good thing about moving averages, by the way, because it gives you some good solid indication, basically. But this is where the MACD comes in again, where you're going to visually see or quantify that there's an opportunity here, and you're going to try to get in at that, either in at that trough or out at that peak a little bit more. So when we think about convergence and divergence, convergence would be coming together, right? And then when you have convergence, it indicates a trend. We're looking for trends, that a trend may be coming to an end. It's kind of an early warning signal. So we've got a trend, it could be up, it could be down, but something's happening where there's a convergence, and that's a signal that the trend is going to come to an end here, and we'll see that graphically in a moment. A divergence, think of that as going apart, or more daylight, it might be a way to think of it. And so the current trend is safe from a crossover or a reversal. Remember, we were looking at those ones with that more daylight. We knew that on the far left of the graph, we had a lot of daylight, so it'd have to come really far to get to that moving average. We had a little bit of safety there. So divergence of more daylight or going apart, it really is an indicator that the trend is not going to reverse. If anything, it looks like the trend might be safer for a longer period of time. We will continue to ride that trend, at least for a few more periods maybe. However, normally wide divergences are not sustainable and can be a warning that prices may have started to reach an extreme. I mean, you think about it, if there's these wide price ranges, we might be really kind of approaching that peak. Or maybe we're going the opposite way, we're approaching that bottom. So it's another way that you can, where a convergence is really indicating a trend might be coming to an end. A divergence might be also a warning signal that, things could be good, but it could be a warning signal also that we might be hitting either that trough or that peak too. So we can use this MACD to kind of help us with that. So if we think about it, how it kind of is calculated is you take a long-term or a longer-term moving average prices, and they're subtracted from the short-term moving average prices, right? So it's kind of mathematical. The trading platform will do this automatically. You just choose that you want it, to indicate the MACD, and then it'll create a nice line on your chart, or it'll create some information there for you. It's created by George Appel, and he used exponential moving averages of 26 and 12 days. Although you can change the parameters if you want, but really what I see in the literature and everything, everybody's pretty solid on this 26 and 12 days, but you can adjust it. Though most people would recommend that you stick with it and just use what's been kind of tested and proven. So that's what we'll use here too. So if we look at our chart, here's our familiar chart again. We've got we put in a 12-day and a 26-day, simple moving averages, the blue line and the pink line, as you can see, and it moves across our prices there. But at the top, because we automatically defaulted, we selected these 12 and 26 periods for an MACD. You can see that you see some lines kind of going together, a 12 and 26 line, looking at these convergences and divergences. So let's look at what this is telling us. So if you look at the far left, when you see the line's rising, or the two averages are, basically what's happening there is the two lines are diverging. And so that means the trend is going to continue. So, diverging means trend continues, right? Though we might be peaking or troughing, a trend is going to continue. So if we look at the top of our chart here, and we see these black and red lines kind of going up there, that's the lines are rising, and that's indicating that the trend's going to continue. And if we look down, if let's say we're way back in time on this, you can see how, yes, obviously that trend was continuing in this case. Once they start to flatten out at the top, and they start flattening out, and they start coming down, then when the MACD line falls, that means the trend is ending, right? So the two averages are starting to come closer together, and they're converging, and the MACD is going to represent that to us as far as that happening. And we can see it on the main chart too. You can just start seeing those moving average lines starting to come closer together, less daylight, and they're coming closer together. It's just that the MACD is going to give you a little bit of indication of that coming, maybe ahead of time. And then we go so on and so on throughout that. One thing too is on the far right there, I said where I have a note where histogram may be easier way to visualize. If you look at that those blue bars there, the histogram sometimes can be an easy way to visualize that. You can see where you might have peaks and valleys in the blue line, and where it gets really narrow to the main line, which is 0, how MACD would be +1, -1, and up and down from there. As it approaches that, that's when they're kind of converging together. You can see how close they are together, maybe easier with the blue part than you can with like the red and the blue crossing each other. But when they cross, that histogram should be basically almost 0, basically is what it would be. So this is interesting. This is great. You're saying like, okay, but I can kind of see it on the other chart too. Where is this helping me? Well, if you look closer at it, I'm going to put on some highlights here. The real advantage of this MACD is going to tell you earlier what is happening with the trend. That was our whole idea, right? And we want to see things happening a little bit sooner than waiting for the price line to cover. And so the gold circles, show the ending in this example of an upward trend, right? There's a sell signal going on, and you can see where where there's these, let's say the lines are crossing, and when it was first going down, as the blue line starts heading down and starts to cross for a little bit and then goes back up, or it's crossing over prices, crossing below, prices are crossing below, let's say the blue line, or crossing below, the longer line. If you look at vertically straight up between these two circles, you can see that the MACD is giving you an earlier sign, a few periods ahead of that something might be up and to be aware of. So that's where people use it, as far as I'm using my pricing, my moving averages to make buy and sell decisions, but I might be using that MACD to give me an earlier warning that something's happening, and I might be able to actually act before they actually do have a crossover period. So that's the whole idea behind MACDs. Again, nothing's perfect, but that's the idea behind them, is you're trying to get an indicator ahead of time than waiting for the prices to happen as far as crossing over. In addition, you can use other indicators in combination with these to try to get confirmation that that's truly what's happening as well too. So if you see lots of blue lines, or excuse me, at the top of that MACD, you can kind of get a feel for what's happening, and then it's going to indicate what's happening below in your chart too, as another way of trying to maybe get ahead of a little bit. Or another thing that might indicate to you where you're looking at and say, oh, I think a selling time is coming. Oh, my MACD is kind of confirming this a couple days ahead of time. I really want to watch that. Or maybe I want to just get out now while I can, and then we'll see from there as far as whether you're going to go back in or not. So that's how the MACD is used as an early indicator on your moving average chart, moving average crossover chart.